Alright, back to what we're doing here. I started to stop the belt. I guess I stopped it so you could hear me talk. And I guess it's kind of boring to sit and watch me grind without talking. So I'm just going to talk while I grind. You'll have the grinder noise going, but I have some bullshit. So I guess you'll have a little entertainment of listening to some bullshitting while you can watch what I'm doing. And once again, this side was in, roughed in really fairly close. And I took this in onto the peak and started the angle here. And I'm gonna work it out, towards each edge, flat. Well, I'll be damned. Talking about not getting a 2-inch, dreaded 2-inch disease. I don't have it much. I caught it ahead of time, but you can see a little bit here. I was pushing more in here to get the plunge line more straight. I got a little bit of a wave here. I mean, you can barely see it. It's not a gouge or anything, but you can see it's working in. But before I had this grinder, I used to do all my knives right here, like right hand. Then I'd do it down on the same side. And this grinder is so nice, it gets everything out. This is only my second knife on. I did my first prototype like 2 days ago on this, and I woke up pretty sick yesterday, and I didn't get into really doing any knife grinding yesterday. And but now I'm doing it like ambidextrous, where I'm doing this side, edge up in my right hand, flipping it, and doing the left side. So I actually started getting a little bit of a bump there to show you, but believe me, that's going to be corrected here before I even get remotely close to anything after the next like 2 or 3 passes. Since I flip my work and look at it every couple passes, and I flip it, I look at it, let the light reflect on it, see what I'm doing. And I can correct anything way ahead of time before it becomes any problem. But this is the second knife I actually ever did ambidextrous, and the first one I didn't get that, so this that might be a little bit something I just gotta watch out for. Make sure I keep all the pressure in the right spot when I come into that plunge line. When I come into the plunge line, instead of being flat, to let the front side dig in here to give me the 2-inch, dreaded 2-inch disease, as I've at least see one person call it, but I find it to be a good name for it. I'm going to take my knife in here, and as I get back, I'm not tilting it out, I'm going to exaggerate, but I'm going to tilt it out so it's digging more into that corner, and this side of the blade ain't hitting the belt. So instead of being in here, I'm going to tilt it a little bit. I'm not really tilting, the front edge is kind of touching, but I'm putting my pressure back here with my thumb, and I keep it moving and working, and then as I come out of the plunge line, so my pressure's back here. This is all going to be exaggerated. My pressure's back here in the plunge line. As I come away from the plunge line, I even my pressure out till it's even and flat out through the knife. And it's even and flat, and I get into the plunge line, and I add a little more pressure back here. So that's kind of the technique on doing that, and it's something it's all by feel. I can tell you the basic idea behind it, and something you gotta learn through experience, but if you've never done it before and you have someone explaining it to you in that way, I guess you got a basis to start with to what you're looking for to correct the problem until you really get the feel for it. So I'm going to take a little lighter pressure here and work my way around so that's all flattened out. Get rid of that. I'm right-handed if you couldn't figure that out by now, but that's why I had other setups where I had big motor and stuff right here, so even if trying this way, it was in a way. This thing I got free rein, good almost foot on this side, good couple feet back, and this side's completely wide open, but I just need a couple inches on each side, you know. Good 8-10 inches of free moving area, space. Get that to work out. There we go. Working it around, and if you can see, there might be a slight, I don't know, I can't even tell if there's really even a slight curve there, hardly. Kinda is, but it's almost non-existent now, and the next couple passes, that'll be gone. This slight little bit of curve you can see, and we're still in a extremely rough phase of it. You see on this side, I got my sponge line coming in real nice and close to the tape, nice and straight. Got a bit of a radius. I need a little more radius, though. I need to modify this platen a little bit. I need to round the metal on this corner. Let me shut this off. I need to round the metal on the corner here, then ride the belt over that like 1/8 of an inch, or maybe a little more, about 1/8 of an inch past the platen. So when I press in there on the plunge line, the belt will wrap over that metal and give me a radius. And it'll give me even a better radius back in here. That's not much of a radius at all. This side I got somewhat. That's another thing. I mean, this grinder's awesome, but they can't have every little tweak for every single person that buys it, because everybody's going to like a little different tweak. That's what I like. And that's what I want. And they build it with square edges, and it's perfectly understandable. It's just a modification I want to do to it, so it makes what I want how I want it made, and makes life a little easier for me. So that's about it for my plate that goes on here. I want some kind of wing nuts or knobs I can just grip by hand and loosen them real quick, not have to use a wrench or a ratchet to not only barely snug it, but you need a little more than finger snug to have it in there properly. And round the corners of these platen, which I'm going to round them like that, but probably within the next couple weeks I'm going to make myself one out of A2 or D2 tool steel. Preferably D2. It just depends what we have on a stock rack at the shop, without me having to go buy a brand new length of it, because A2 and D2 are both very expensive tool steels. And we always have like ends of bars laying around. That's what I started making knives with from work. We get 10, 12-foot bars, sometimes 3 or 4 of them to do certain jobs, and they might have been to make some kind of part that might be 1.5 foot long, and you cut out a bunch of sections that are 1.5 foot long, and you end up having a piece that's a foot long left. Or, they might need 10 parts, and until you cut the bars up, there's a 3 foot left, but all the parts are made. So we have random pieces of tool steel on the stock rack, and I just gotta get me some permission that, hey, this isn't important, it's sitting around, and can I grab this piece of steel here? You know, sometimes it's like, no, that's a common one. We got a job, we're probably getting that job back and we'll be using it, or oh, that was a piece for a job 3 years ago and we're not going to be getting them parts again. Go ahead and use it. And so that's pretty nice, definitely to have that for my situation at least. That's where with these knives here, had that video we put up where McPlatypus was here and we shot about the A2 tool steel stock. It's not first A2 tool steel by far I've ever used. It's just the first time I went and bought 6 foot of one particular size to cut it and use all 6 feet of it to make one specific type of knife. You know, to actually do like a production run of something. Since I now have this grinder, that was kind of the idea behind that. First time I went and bought specific stock for specific knife to keep going. They're real flat on this side here. Got a little bit of a divot work back in there. But we're doing just fine here on this. Flat grind going here. Been pretty good. Pretty far along. I need to, well, I can see here on this one, not getting enough pressure back in here. You can see this tapers up more than from this side. It's up real nice and a slight curve to match with what's way down here on the edge. It's a nice long curve and out to a point. It's coming in real even. Like I said, doing this in an ambidextrous fashion now, I'm working on, I can make it real nice, but to be able to hog out and do it fast, I'm going to have to get the hang of it a little better, doing it left-handed like that. I don't know, I didn't even have any of this problems with that first one I did. Half of it's probably just having the camera on and trying to talk and show what I'm doing on some of this stuff. But all I do, come here, a lot less pressure now. This thumb's barely touching, just kind of keeping it where it's barely touching the belt. This one I'm pushing in very light, not even moderate pressure to work that in here on this side. And get that back to where it's flat and straight. And here's a lot less strain on the belt. You might be able to hear that. Yeah, we're getting there. Gotta straighten it up a good bit. Getting this more in a straight area, and then I'll get it out to where it's more tapered. Like you can see, just from warming up and bare ripped off metal, dripping it in water, this rusts up quick. But A2, don't want you to get confused and think I'm saying it's a stainless steel. It's not in the category of stainless steel, but the steel itself has such a high chromium content that it is considered a semi-stainless steel. So it doesn't rust once it's heat treated and polished, and the finer the polish, the harder it is for oxidation to grip onto the surface and start oxidizing it. But this it's a semi-stainless. It's not actually stainless. It's a tool steel, very high carbon, high chromium content, but since it has such a chromium content in it, it's very resistant to rust. And here I got one. I had this in my one EDC video, or yeah, when I was in the mountains. It's a knife I made years ago, and it's it's got stuff all over it right now, but that's A2. If I can get it shown, there's from cutting crap. There's a little bit of staining right here on the tip. If it'll focus in. Right up on the tip, there's a little bit of staining, but for the most part, that's all nice and shiny. My camera's made a weird noise. I don't know if it stopped recording or what, but I'm over 15 minutes. I'm going to start another.